The regular hybrid meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District is now called to order. It is Monday, March 1st, 2021. The time is 5:15 p.m. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Rowland?
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang?
Here.
And Commissioner Wright?
Here.
Thank you,
legal
Joanne.
quorum, Madam Chair. You have a legal quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Commissioners, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. It's time for public requests, and Brianne has informed me that there are several emails, and then we will take the calls from the public. Brianne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first one, I think we had at the last meeting as well, but it was forwarded to public comments again over the weekend. This is from Renee Bradshaw. My name is Renee Bradshaw, and my husband and I have owned at Boca Chica for 25 years. I would like to thank you and the commissioners for all you have done for Ocean Breeze. We as owners are very disappointed in the mayor and city council and think it is a disgrace that they have been able to walk away after you have done extensive planning and professionals on this property and spent over $200,000 that the city has yet to acknowledge the large monetary loss. As we all know, the gift didn't just come up. It took a lot of planning and reviewing by attorneys. So the secret is out, and that is why there is no response or meetings regarding the ILA. Since there will be no 18-hole golf course, my thought would be to move the executive course, golf school, and driving range to the west course, and possibly pickleboard courts on the east side. This may be difficult since the city is not cooperating regarding the west course, but the Parks District is keeping up with the payments and the city should not have any issues. Another option would be to keep the property, maintain possible walking path until bond is paid off, and then the city is removed from any decisions and the Parks District could do what they were appointed to do. Thank you again for all your hard work. Renee Bradshaw, Boca Chica 7, 299 Northwest 52nd Terrace, Unit 222. This is from Linda Schatz. Dear Ms. Harms and the Board of Commissioners, I'm speaking on behalf of my 96-year-old mother, Joyce Horn, who has disabilities and is in a wheelchair. I would like to address the problem that we are experiencing with the infestation of rats entering our home. We have lived at 5261 Northwest Terrace, Boca Raton for 40 years without a rodent problem until now. The golf course backs up to the property and has not been maintained, thus making it a haven for rodents. The grass is overgrown into a dense field, the trees have debris and undergrowth, and it has become a dumping ground for litter. It is a serious health hazard. We have hired an exterminator to kill the rats in our home, but there seems to be an endless supply of rats to invade our home since Boca Chica has been unkempt. We look forward to a resolution. I understand that you are planning to hire a company to clear and maintain the golf course and the surrounding area. Until you have a plan to develop it, I look forward to hear about your progress in clearing and maintaining the property. Sincerely, Linda Schatz and Joyce Horn. And this is from Roberto Gomez. Dear Commissioners, as a former board member with the Boca Chica Association, it is very important to inform you of the need for a community center with the redesigning this property. There are over 15 resident associations in the area, and none of these organizations have a room large enough for their members to attend annual or regular association meetings. The former social center on the southeast corner provided the meeting room, which should be included in your new design in order to meet this community need. The former social center had numerous rooms that provided the nucleus for several thousand residents within the area and has been sorely missed over the past few years. A large multi-purpose room could also be used for many other functions, similar to your Sugar Sand Park building. According to your annual budget, the district is spending $345,000 per year on rental of soccer fields at FAU. So building soccer fields on the east portion of your property would meet this need and save taxpayers for years to come. The eastern property is a long rectangle that is over 120 yards wide and could easily accommodate over 8 soccer fields, as it is also over 500 yards long, both north and south of Jeffrey Street, which would also facilitate ample parking immediately adjacent to Jeffrey Street. The district has identified a need for an additional field house that is currently proposed adjacent to your current field house at Sugar Sand Park. Consequently, it could make financial sense to include the needed field house at your Ocean Breeze property, possibly at the southwest corner, since it already has the costly infrastructure for plumbing and electrical already at this location. At your last meeting, the pickleball ambassador, Raul, noted the pickleball has been a profitable recreation amenity at other locations, so this would certainly be beneficial and a financially smart decision to add, potentially at the site of the old tennis courts. Lastly, there has been widespread residential support for walking, jogging, and bicycle trails around large lakes. This could be similar in design to your excellent Spanish River Park. This could also connect to a trail under construction along the south side of Jeffrey Clint Moore by the Florida Department of Transportation, which would connect to the El Rio Trail. Please allow the city to address any golf interest by local residents, since they will soon be relocating their public golf course nearby at Boca Country Club. Respectfully, Roberto Gomez, 5401 Northwest 2nd Avenue.
You're muted. I don't hear you.
I hear you now.
Can you hear me now, Sue?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
If I might beg your indulgence on just one comment on the last email.
Yes, sir.
I saw the reference to the field rental on Facebook. And so I just did a little research. As you know, the only property that we own is at Patch Reef. The rest of the facilities like Don Estridge, Spanish River are owned by either the school district or the city. And we pay the maintenance on those facilities. The maintenance for a comparable size project as FAU is Don Estridge, and the cost per field for the maintenance there is roughly $150,000 per field. At Spanish River, where we have 7 fields, the cost of maintenance per field is approximately $215,000. So whether we own the facility or not, we still would have the maintenance costs, which would be comparable to what I've just shared with you for Don Estridge and the Spanish River fields. And quite honestly, what we're paying FAU is less per field than what we're paying for the maintenance of the other 2 facilities. I just wanted to make that point. And I did share that same comment with Councilman Andy Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add something to that, just to.
Yes, Mr.
Bob's
Ernst.
Not only is it just a financial cost thing, there's a community partnership value there that you can't put a price on. So many of the coaches are, from FAU, and I think there is a convenience factor for them and for the community at large. That one thing I've learned being on the district is many partnerships is just a very good thing to have. So there is a financial cost to it, but there's also a long-term partnership that is important. And it's important to have partnerships with the city and FAU and the school district as well. So we serve a very good role that I not want to discontinue at this point.
Yeah, and just to follow that, we've had these partnership with FAU for, over 30 years in one form or the other. And it's been a very good partnership. And to Craig's point, it was needed space when we had no space. And the FAU stepped up for us to allow us that courtesy and that convenience for growing recreational sports in the community. So, and as Craig says, we need those partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ernst, too. Melissa, do we have any hands up for calls for public requests?
Good. Yeah.
Oh, yep, here we go. Regina E.
Regina Eklund.
Hello.
Hi, Regina.
Hi, this is Regina Eklund, 5201 Northwest 2nd Avenue. Last Monday evening, the Boca Chica President's Council held a meeting. Not only did we have presidents from all of the associations in the Boca Chica area, but we also had other people in our community who are very interested in what happens on the Ocean Breeze property. Harold Chafee from Keep Golf in Boca, as well as Sally Friedman, who has been the long-serving president of the Boca Chica Unit Owners Association. We had conversations about what we would and would not like to see on the Ocean Breeze property. And I think that certainly the people at that meeting expressed a very strong desire to not have ball fields on the Ocean Breeze property. We have a quiet community here. We have a very large residential community here, and adding the noise, traffic, and constant influx of people who do not even live in the area to use the ball fields, we feel would be really disruptive. Also, everyone at that meeting expressed a very strong opposition to the extension of Jeffrey Street from 2nd Avenue through to Dixie, and we will be expressing that with the City Council as well. People at that meeting still still are very, very interested in having a golf facility of some sort at Ocean Breeze, whether it is an executive course or the plans that you already put forth on the east side. We would still like to see something like that happen. Another concern that was raised was the how the public would be kept from trespassing onto condo association property and homeowners' private property if this is open as park facility or really any other recreational facility. So something that we would like you to definitely keep in mind as you're going forward with plans, because as a golf course, the golf course was open to our association properties, no barriers, anything like that. So that is a concern. And just to add and reinforce what one of your previous public comments was the rodent problem. And I think we all want to see that addressed because it is significant. And that's pretty much all I had to say for this week. And I do appreciate you listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Regina.
I don't see anybody else. I had Raul, but Raul seems to have hung up. Has had his hand up, but he's gone now. No other hands are up.
You could just remind the public it's *9 if you want to raise your hand to speak.
No hands are raised.
I make
I
one
do know
comment
Raul.
in regards to the rat comment.
Let's go to that when we get to the Ocean Breeze discussion, Erin, and
Okay, that's fine.
I will call on you for that. We're good?
Okay. Yeah, I was just making sure Raul wasn't coming on because he was on and had his hand up and now he's not on anymore. So I don't know if something happened, but nobody else has their hands up.
Okay. Public requests are now closed. It's time for the approval of the minutes for the board meeting that was held on February 16th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Any discussion, commissioners? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Joanne. It's time for our first item of regular business, the Ocean Breeze discussion, as we will always have. The first item is the property and clearing RFP. That's found on page 8. I'm getting some echo.
They seem to be coming in okay on this end.
Yeah,
Same here.
Brienne, would you like to start us off?
Sure, we can start with the page 8, the Boca Chica property and clearing RFP. On page 8, Melissa went ahead and broke down in a matrix form the various price points. At this point, we would like to recommend CSR, and what we'd like to do is work with Sam and Jacob to negotiate a contract with them based upon their fees with a few exceptions. One being the demolition, we'd like to just get a concrete cost included in the contract, and then any other items that you would want to put in there if that was your choice, but that's who we are recommending tonight.
Commissioners, I'm going to start off with Mr. Ernst.
Madam Chair, I had a good conversation with Melissa and Brienne, and I think they have incorporated my comments, my feedback, and I support their decision.
Mr. Rollins?
As Craig mentioned, I had similar conversations on a Zoom call with both Melissa and Brienne, and certainly support their position. I think that this firm did a wonderful job on Patch Reef, basically pretty much on time and under budget, and that's something that we hadn't done in a while. And I would support the recommendation of our executive director.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, agreed. We went over it via Zoom. They had the lowest bid. They did a great job at Patch Reeve coming in under budget, and Melissa said she had a really good experience working with them. So I'm agreed with the rest of the commissioners for CSR.
And Commissioner Engel?
I agree with the previous commissioner's comments. I think both Melissa and Brianne did an excellent job putting this together, and I go along with their recommendation.
Thank you. I remember back in the day where we had to sit with books and books and books, and we had to go through all this information and cull the information. So I am very appreciative of all the work that Melissa and Brianne have done. I too concur, and I think CSR would be an excellent choice for a number of reasons. And Melissa being able to work with them and have a good relationship is especially important. And the numbers were there. So do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Joanne, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Good job, everyone.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else for Ocean Breeze, Brianne?
I do. I actually have an update on the interlocal agreement.
Okay.
Madam Chair, before you start that, I just want to note that you do have one hand raised. I think Raul came back under a different name there.
He did. Do you
Uh,
want to open it up for him?
Yes, please. Public requests are reopened for Raul. Thank you, Craig.
Can you hear me? Can
We
you hear
can.
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi,
We can,
Raul.
sir.
I really appreciate you letting me have the time out of order. Unfortunately, my iPad battery died on me halfway through the meeting, so the start of the meeting. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is Raul Travieso. I live at 1037 West Royal Palm Road, and as you know, I'm your local pickleball ambassador. You will all be surprised and amazed that I will not be asking for anything tonight. In fact, on behalf of the hundreds of Boca Raton pickleball players and their families, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank you for making lighted pickleball courts a reality. Today was the opening day at Patch Reeve Tennis Center, and I had the opportunity to play this morning with Melissa, who's become a very good player. Commissioner Rollins was in attendance, and I think he'll agree that the courts are terrific, and remarks were glowing. Now players can play 7 days a week, day or night. At this time, I wish to especially thank Commissioner Ernst for presenting the original proposal to convert the tennis courts, and to this commission for unanimously approving 6 pickleball courts. I distinctly remember Mr. Ernst saying, if we are going to do this, let's do it right. And for the last 47 years, commissioners of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Parks District have done things right and have developed the most extraordinary parks in all of South Florida. We thank this commission for recognizing the exploding growth of the sport of pickleball and the increasing need for more pickleball courts in Greater Boca Raton. We are grateful for your leadership, your resourcefulness, and your ability to involve and truly listen to us, the community. We greatly appreciate all you do, and I sincerely mean that. In closing, I personally want to thank this commission for a wonderful job you do so that the residents of Boca Raton can get out and use great facilities and recreate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raul. And if everybody is home in time, you might see Commissioner Rollins on the news for WPTV with Miranda Christian tonight. Okay, public requests are now closed once again. Brianne, would you like to continue with the ILA?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. A few meetings ago, I was tasked with working with city staff to try to find a common ground in the interlocal agreement. I'm happy to say that I had some great meetings with both Michael Calvert and Mike Wika, and we are at a point where we have an interlocal agreement. It answers the three things that this board wanted, which are allowing for the development of recreational facilities, including golf. It defines the parameters of the approval process and puts a timeline in place. And then it also allows for access to the west side of the property for maintaining and developing the east side. So those three things are incorporated. We've had Sam and Jacob review it, and they feel like we are in a good place. So I'd like to recommend bringing that to the board to our next meeting on March 15th for your consideration.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Brianne at this time? Mr. Engel.
Yeah, I don't have a question really. I'd just like to make a comment. I went over the ILA with Brianne, and I have to say, job well done. Now I think we have something that we can work with. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ernst?
I echo Steve's comments. I guess I would say I read it and I went through it. It's not perfect, but you know, this is going to be an imperfect process. And I think when we get further along with this whole adventure or journey that we're going on with how Ocean Breeze turns into something really great, we will find stronger partnership opportunities with the city and with the residents, and this is a good starting point. So thank you, Brianne, for working through some very tough discussions, and we've been at this table before. I hope that when we meet with the city council, we will be off to a good start to really find something that we can all do together and really champion behind it. So thank you.
Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm glad it seems the lines of communication have opened up a little bit between our staff and city staff. I think the responses have been better. So I'm glad we were able to kind of get this done, and I think we're going to get the needs assessment back prior to the meeting that we have on April 26th, which will be great. So I'm hoping that we can get something accomplished at that joint meeting in April. But I'm glad at least we have the step forward moving with the ILA. I think that was a big stumbling block, you know? So I'm glad to see that it's moving forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Rollins?
Well, I think everyone's pretty much said what I was thinking. Brianne, kudos to Brianne for the excellent job she's done in working with the city, her attendance at the workshops, her meetings with Mike Wika, and the mutual respect that they have for each other is evidenced by this ILA that they worked out. As Craig said, you know, it's not entirely perfect, but it's certainly a step in the right direction for our relationship with the two bodies. So congratulations for Brianne for work well done.
And I concur. Brianne, you've done an absolutely wonderful job. And thank you to our district council too for helping us through this process. As far as the public is concerned, we will have this out for our next agenda, an agenda item on the March 15th. So that's when we will vote for it. And you will have your time to discuss it with us too. Is there anything else on Ocean Breeze, Brianne?
I just think Commissioner Wright had something.
Oh, Commissioner Wright, I didn't see your hand.
Just in regards to the rats. So I actually had a rat this weekend, and I live near Ocean Breeze. So we had a rat on the side of our house, and so did our neighbors. So I don't know if it's like rat breeding season or what it is, but I'm hoping that Boca Chica, I'm hoping that the RFP for the land clearing will help the rat issue, but also hoping that the HOAs also take some steps to try to resolve the rat issue as well. Obviously, I'm a homeowner. I have rats. I'm going to take care of my rat issue. So hopefully they take steps to deal with the rats as well. But obviously, we'll do the best we can in terms of the land clearing and the maintenance. And now that we know it's, you know, an issue, that we'll take steps to make sure that we're doing our part in terms of taking care of that, because it is disgusting. Ugh. It's awful having finding rats near your house.
Melissa, is there anything that you have seen or experienced? Do we have a pest control through the city that, you know, like we have for our buildings? Is there any way we can piggyback onto that for pest control out there in some fashion?
Madam,
I'm asking Melissa first. She's trying to get on.
Okay. You have me there? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm happy to. The city does have a pest control contract in place, and I'm happy to reach out to them to see if there's some guidance they can give us on that. I think that the plan that we have, as Aaron mentioned, with the land clearing, I think a lot of them are using the areas where the old palm fronds and stuff have fallen down and started to decay, and have used that as a home. And I think when we get that cleaned up, it will help it a lot. But I will also reach out to the city under your direction and just inquire as to what, if they have something they could recommend as well.
Thank you. And Mr. Ernst?
Two parts to that is, first of all, regarding Melissa and the land clearing, while I agree the land clearing will help, it's actually probably more likely to hurt, because once you disturb their homes, you're going to create a bigger issue. So my suggestion would be is work with the construction company and the city before you start disturbing any of the area, and work on that. But I also would remind you that this is South Florida, and everyone has to do their part. I have many a coworker who encountered roof rats, which are common in the area, and it is up to all of us not to leave garbage out. It's not one party or another, but clearly a step in the direction will be, as we clear the land, we're probably going to create more disruption out there. And so I'd be guided to everyone. This is a good time for the condo associations and the homeowners in the area to be proactive, because there's raccoons, there's all sorts of critters that I assure have taken over spots. So it will have to be a strong communication and a strong effort on everyone's part, not just the district, but everyone.
I think Commissioner Wright had her hand up, and then I'll get to you, Commissioner Rollins.
Ma'am.
You're muted.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that the building managers really need to stay on top of any openings or anything like that they have. Any teeny tiny openings that they can crawl into, they will get into. So that's like the main thing in terms of the buildings and the areas around the buildings. But I agree with Craig that it's going to be a multifaceted effort in terms of us and the construction and the building managers and things like that. So I think, and there's animals in South Florida, so
Yes, we do.
we just have
Commissioner
to
Rollins?
stay on top of it.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that most of the golf courses that I play in Palm Beach County have devices there that trap, rats, because they are a problem. And I think we should try to get ahead of this as much as possible before we start disturbing their habitat. And so I would encourage Melissa to get with the city and find out an option that we can have before we start disturbing it. So maybe we can trap as many of those as possible and remove them.
Maybe
I'll
get a
absolutely
bounty.
do that. We'll absolutely do that. We have some time, because obviously we'll be working on a contract with the contractor. So we'll have some time to do that. I'll make the call tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item of business is the Strand Archaeological Services, found on page 11 of your agenda packet. Brianne?
Okay, let me take a deep breath here. Strand, I think we all just, people are walking in on Strand as it is right now. So the idea was to make the path safe and accessible. That's what we started off with. I thought while we were removing invasives and we had the money, we could just remove all the invasives and get the property ready for whatever future developments we had. But it feels like to me, things shifted because we had an open permit and we had already started removing the invasives. And then when we wanted to remove more, it became a much more layered process with the city. And I personally am concerned that the process that we are in doesn't match up with the project. The walkway is pretty straightforward. The removal of invasives is pretty straightforward. And I understand that there's a process in place for public lands, but this has always been public land. It's just had a gate across it, keeping people out of it. And all we want to do is kind of open that gate up and let people go down and take a look. So I think I've reached out to the city now at this point because I feel after meeting with AmeriCorps, we've hit some stumbling blocks with our conversations. It seems like we're repeating ourselves with certain areas as far as what this project is and what it entails. And you know, we've turned in plans and you can see some of the notes were notes about parking when the plans show no parking. So I think we're doing a lot of unnecessary work on this that it just doesn't match up to what we were trying to do. We were trying to do something simple and basic to meet the needs that, you know, we'll find out on the needs assessment that walking trails and nature paths are a high need. And this would fill some of that, especially for that area. So at this point, the city is looking for us to hire an archaeologist to provide some supervision. There's an alleged midden. It's kind of just slightly east of the mangrove area, which is not an area that we plan on touching anyway. And again, we've already disturbed part of this entire property when we started removing the invasives. So I think tonight what I wanted to ask was for two things from you all. One is approval of the change order, because these are things that we will have to do, I think, regardless of what we do. The second thing I was going to ask for tonight is that I've reached out to the city and said to them, what can we do to make this easier for everybody? I think city staff in these departments, development service, municipal services, there's a lot bigger, more complex projects for them to be reviewing and looking at. And to have to spend their time on a walking path in a park that's been designated for public lands forever, I think is not the best use of their resources. So I've reached out to Michael Calvert and asked him to work with city staff to find out what the best path forward is. And if that path forward is to not remove the invasives on the north and south sides of the property, I'd like to give that direction. And I don't know what the direction will be from the city, but if that is the direction, I'd like to give that direction to the contractor so that we can take that out of our request, go back to the original permit of the central hammock, the walkway, and try to get this thing done as we thought it would be. And I'm honestly at a loss. I just thought this, you know, the pickleball courts to me seem more complex and certainly a higher impact on the operations at Patch Reef, but it went through very quickly. So I'm at a loss, and I'm hoping that the city staff can provide some input in what they want, and we can get it open and go from there. So those two points are my points tonight. One is the approval of the change order, and the second one is the authorization to give that direction. If the city says, yeah, we don't want you doing the north and south removal yet, fine, let's give that direction to AmeriCorps so we can just go back to what we originally planned to do.
Brianne, you also mentioned to me earlier that we need a topographical survey. So
that's in that change order. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any thoughts? Raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Engel.
Yeah, in reviewing the information that we have in our packets, I notice some additional changes. Correct me if I'm wrong. About elevation of the walkways, adding lighting.
The lighting is not something. Once they realize the park closes at nighttime, they will withdraw those comments when they see that. That was part of that discussion when they had the initial meeting. So the lighting shouldn't be an issue. I mean, we certainly have Blazing Star right behind Sugar Sand Park. It's not even ADA accessible. It has an ADA parking space, but the path itself is just sand. It's not accessible. So, and there's no lights on that, and that's a nature path. It's not even that old. So I don't think that will be an ongoing issue when they realize the park is closing at sunset.
Okay, because there's just like a whole range of different comments, and it's kind of like I'm looking at things that look like more existential justifications, for lack of a better phrase. So I hope we can get around all that stuff and just concentrate on the job at hand, which is to open up this facility to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Who else would like to speak? Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, looking at the environmental comments, they state that the removal of invasive exotic vegetation is potential for erosion into the intercoastal waterway. But we've already had the permit approved for the removal of the invasives in the center of the property. So I don't understand why removing an additional portion of invasives that are north and south of the property aren't approved, because we've already had a portion approved. And I know that Brianne has gone to the environmental department and has numerous times told them that we are not getting near the water line. We are not getting near the water line. And that Brianne, you've said that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has already told them that we're good on this, right?
Yes, they have an email out there. I don't know why. It's on the plans that we're not going near the water line. It's clearly marked. We do have the email from them that says that's not their jurisdiction. Good luck on your project. We've submitted that to the city. My understanding is that environmental is still talking to the contractor, asking for more reassurance. And, you know, at some point we're having the duplication of conversations that it just seems like it's just a stall for whatever reason. I don't know, but we've answered to that, and it's still here in the notes that we need to do that. And we've answered to this numerous times that we're not going near the seagrass. We're not going past that water line. I'm at a loss with how to move forward with some of these things. If we've said them, we've given that information, you know, that's why
Right.
I sought some input from the city staff.
So the environmental part is something that needs to be cleared up with the staff. I agree the survey needs to be done. It's 17 years old. Totally agree with that. The archaeological stuff needs to be done because there is possible mid in there. That's totally fine. So the rest of it is really not anything that needs to be dealt with because we don't need lighting and we're not having parking. So it's really the environmental comments that we're dealing with that are stalling this project, correct?
Correct. And for some of that, we move forward. If we can get approval on the archaeologist, we'll submit that's who we're going to contract with. We'll get the survey done and satisfy that requirement. And
so let's target the environmental and get that cleared up with staff. I mean, if we can get that cleared up and everything submitted according to their comments, then we should be good to go. Because it doesn't make sense to me to clear out a portion of the invasives, and then how are we going to keep the invasives from the other part of the property not spreading into the middle part of the property? It's all connected. So to me, it doesn't make sense to just do the middle portion and not do the rest of it. Unless they're going to guarantee that when they do, if we use them for maintenance of this property, that they're going to guarantee that they're going to keep all the invasives out from the north and the south side of the properties.
Well, I think
otherwise we're just going to have to clear it all out again.
We will get a maintenance
I'm
plan.
just like at a loss.
We will get a maintenance plan from the biologist who's working with AmeriCorps on this, and that will help. And we'll hand that over if the city is you know, if we wanted to go out and seek another contractor to maintain the property, we could look at that too. But we can hand that guide over to the city and hope that they'll follow it and keep the invasives out. But yes, I agree. The idea of removing all of them certainly makes sense for the environment, and just to restore it to a native vegetation makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we just keep working with city staff, targeting, who is it, Nora Fossman in the environmental department, and I don't see why you can't call her directly. Is that allowed? I don't want to push the boundaries, but you know, to get clarification on this, on why we keep telling them the same thing over and over, yet we're getting these same comments. So we're going in circles here. So, I mean, I'm hoping you hear back from Mike sooner rather than later, but if not, contact environmental department and see if they can give you a straight answer on this.
Okay.
Commissioners, would it, I know Brianne has done this in the past and it's become effective, and along with Commissioner Wright, to bring this to light at the workshop on Monday. And, you know.
No, I don't know if this is something that we need to bring into workshop. I think if we keep, you know, I mean.
Well,
Brienne has,
I've been advised to go through Michael Calvert for all my communication and not to reach out to city staff unless they've been given the okay to talk to me one-on-one. So I'll just continue with Michael Calvert and push that through him and Mike Wika.
Who gave you those directions, Brianne?
That came from Mike Wika. Michael Calvert's my point of contact for these projects.
Okay.
Mr. Ernst, did you have your hand up?
Yes, well, a couple thoughts. And I'm going to try to separate them, keep them in a logical order. So staff comments that we were provided with is no different than staff comments we get on any developer, anyone in the community would go to a project, they bring those staff comments. And some of them that can be addressed, but I'm not sure if they all have to be exactly addressed the way they are. I agree with what Aaron said. The environmental seems to be the biggest kind of stumbling block of all these things. But I thought we went forward with the idea of clearing further invasives because financially it made the most sense, and it made the most sense for the long-term venue or project to clear all of it. And I think there has to be a reminder given to the city staff and elected that the intent always was to have a full plan for the entire park. This was just an interim step to put a walkway in for about $100,000 that is now $600,000. And it is never intended to be the full plan of how Ocean Strand was going to fully develop and evolve. So it warrants stepping back to say, well, what would you like? I think, and there's nothing to stop us with, given the information we have here, also move forward with the full plan on Ocean Strand. I think there should be a community-driven plan. And I really like what the folks did at the recent workshop outlining the Palmetto Park roadway there. We need the community involvement, not just us doing things. So I think when you have that community involvement in things, they will help shape what Ocean Strand should be and can be in really something great. And I think the walkway was just an easy thing that we should do. Clearing the invasives, easy thing to do. I still don't understand the archaeological mitten thing. I mean, it just seems like a new requirement out of the blue, unless someone says there's something really buried there, but it's an additional expense for, I don't know what. And I don't understand how that comes about, but it just baffles me. But okay, it's $4,800. If that's going to stop us from putting a walkway in and we're going to waste taxpayers' monies for $4,800 on it, fine. You know, just give us the name of who told us to waste the $4,800 on this, but maybe not. And if they find something really valuable, great. We're going to, you know, put a tombstone on it and then we'll move on. But the topographical survey, I can't pronounce it, all for it. We need to go forward and do it. So I'm all for keeping our project moving forward, but get city input, get the recreation board input, and let's start working on a real full-size plan and not just, you know, have the year go by with just it looks like it'll be a challenge just to get a walkway down to the water, but we should really focus on the bigger picture plan of the whole thing. And now that we have all this information, get them on board and going with it, because we want it to be a park. And I think the community wants it to be a park. Let's do it.
Mr. Rollins?
I don't know what to say. I just was flabbergasted reading through the things that were required to move this project forward. And I understand that the city has requirements, and understand now why builders don't like building in Boca, because it's such a challenge to get through all the permitting. And I've had some personal experience with that, and it's very frustrating. But I do think we need to move forward. As frustrating as it is for staff, I think we had the park. We've told folks we were going to open it up, and you know, I'm just disappointed that a simple plan like putting a walkway in there has turned into a monster. But that's what we have to deal with. I think the exotics need to be removed while we have the contractor in there. As Craig said, it makes a lot of sense while the contractor's there rather than having to redo that. And the exotics don't stop growing. You know, if you don't remove them, they're going to encroach into other parts of the property. So, and it can become a safety issue for us when having folks in there. So as much as I regret the detail that staff has to work through, I think we probably should move forward and just grit our teeth, bite our tongue, and do the best we can to get through it.
So do I hear a motion to, for the change order number 6 for the Archaeological Services and updated survey?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay.
Flip a
heard-
coin.
I heard you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Joanne, did you get that? Is there any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Wright?
At the end of the document that they sent, there is also city staff contact information for any questions that anybody might have on this. So can we direct, can Brianne direct AmeriCorps builders to contact Nora directly?
They have been.
Then
I
they
know
haven't-
they've been in contact and they've had this repetitive conversation with some of these areas. They have been working with people and talking. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe you need to get involved at this point with AmeriCorps and Nora and get it resolved.
Good luck.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is the Ocean Strand amended and restated declaration of restrictive covenants found on page 23. Mr. Gorin, would you help us out with that, please?
I can, Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you very much. Nice to see you all this evening. Included in the package this evening is a revised declaration of covenants and conditions. As you know, the district adopted that declaration. It was recorded in the Palm Beach County Public Records. And at the time, as you may remember, there were some excluded parcels that were believed by our surveyor to not be included within the ownership interests of the district. We thought differently of that, and we did some additional homework along with the professional staff, with both Brianne and with Art Koski's office, as well as having conversations with members of this board. And to the extent that we revised and updated the title information, we also inquired, as you know, of Steve Watts, who's from Calvin Giordano, to review some additional documents of public record that would otherwise indicate ownership. We're pleased to suggest to you that Steve Watts revised his opinion in the context of what land was embraced by those deeds that were found. There were some pretty old deeds. And this document before you this evening for approval essentially is a revised declaration that makes certain specific public findings and declarations that the property owned by the district, which includes the formerly excluded parcels owned by the district, and we're simply re-recording the declaration to emphasize that publicly to make sure anyone who would doubt that issue will no longer be in doubt, and that the sketch and description in living color that's been provided by Mr. Watts and by Calvin Giordano reflects that conclusion. And I thought it appropriate, as did Jacob, my law partner, to bring this back to you for public approval so that there would be no doubt about ownership, and the declaration continues in its general format from previously being recorded, but now includes the reference point to including the previously excluded parcels, and now makes it more legally accurate as to what your ownership interests are. And that's the essence of what the document does. And with your good guidance and perseverance, we weren't happy with the answer either, by the way, and chose to reemphasize the research, which came back in a positive way for all of us this evening. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Commissioners, do you have any
Thank you, ma'am.
questions for Mr. Gorin? Mr. Ernst?
Very simply, I guess the last page as the color picture, 29, I think it is. Which parcels are you talking about that were added back in? Some of it is lightly sketched on there, and I appreciate the due diligence and the cleanup.
Yes.
This is very well.
If I may respond, Madam Chair, this
sir.
sketch and description actually has no excluded parcels. So whatever was previously excluded from the prior sketch is now included within the overall sketch and description.
I think
don't
Brianne
have-
has something to say.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ernst, it was on the side that borders the north properties. There was just a few parcels that must have been like purchased after, like these were old residential properties, so they were bought after and they were not included in the original declaration. So we had to go back to the archives and find those purchase agreements and
Deeds.
then get that all processed, the deeds and everything, and get that all processed. It was along that line. There was a couple pieces there that were cut out.
Okay, got it.
That's what it was.
And
Mr. Rollins?
if you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to add that that's exactly what happened when I was on the commission when we individually negotiated with, I think, 3 parcels of property there and bought those parcels out. And I guess they just never were incorporated into the tract that we owned.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, and to
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins' credit and to Commissioner Ernst's credit, those issues were historically known, although the title company did not pick them up. And we simply wanted to make sure by having our surveyor overlay those parcels into the overall sketch and description, which resulted in a confirmation of ownership that we needed to have of record. Any other term or condition regarding changing the situation would be by referendum of the voters, qualified voters, electors in the district. Not the
Thank you.
legislature, the voters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All righty. Do I have a motion to approve the amended and restated declaration of restrictive covenants for the Ocean Strand property?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. We will get the document out for execution and we'll coordinate that for execution by the chair and others. I think they have the actual hard copy. If not, we can coordinate that tomorrow for sure. Get it recorded promptly.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We will have a virtual approval of payroll and invoices found on page 30. Commissioner Ernst, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve $143,914.16.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rollins. Any discussion, commissioners? Joanne, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Reports and discussion items. We'll start off with Executive Director Breanne Harms.
I have a couple of positive things to share. First, I want to thank Joanne for all of her help with public records requests. As you guys know, several years ago, I was named as the records custodian, and obviously my plate has become a lot fuller, so she's really stepped in and helped. We continue to get an increase in public records requests as we and our presence grows. We continue to get a lot of those, and some of them are very cumbersome, some of them are very detailed, and some of them require a lot of digging back into the archives. And so I want to thank Joanne for helping out so much with all that. We put a form on our website to try to help keep some of these organized now, so we can fill that out, or the public can fill it out, and it gives us a chance to kind of organize these requests and keep track of them better. But I really want to thank Joanne for jumping in there and helping me get all these things fulfilled, because it continues to be a very time-consuming and cumbersome task to get all these public records requests fulfilled. And then continuing with that gratefulness, I want to thank Melissa for all of her work on those pickleball courts. She managed this project and was on top of that vendor, and she was out at Patch Reef quite a bit, making sure that things stayed on track with the timeline that they had provided. And she hustled and got things done and got through the permitting process and got things approved by the city. And I want to thank her for all of her hard work getting that done. And I'm not the only one. Mr. Raul Travieso wrote this commendation that I just wanted to read tonight onto the record and further embarrass Melissa. On behalf of the Boca Raton Pickleball Club, I wish to commend Melissa for going the extra mile to verify and ensure that the pickleball courts at the Patch Reef Tennis Center were being built to bid specifications. The repurposing of 2 tennis courts to 6 pickleball court project is a huge success due to her diligence and supervision. This being the first of such a project for the district, I know she was there every day to make sure it was done right and on schedule. The lighted courts feature important requirements such as safety fences to divide courts, 12-foot perimeter fence with windscreens, and vibrant tri-colored playing surfaces. Melissa was also kind enough to invite me on a few occasions to see the progress. I am confident to predict that these courts will be extremely popular with local players. The courts will be busy daily, day and night. At the end of the day, it will be the residents of the greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District and Palm Beach County that will benefit from her commitment and hard work. Kudos to Melissa. Sincerely, Raul Traviaso, and he is the pickleball president in Boca Raton. So thank you, Melissa, for all your work on that, and thank you, Joanne. And the only other items I have are future agenda items, which are pipes and pumping project, the ILA, which I mentioned earlier, and also the Verde K-8 facility use agreement.
Thank you. And thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Joanne. Let's go to our district council, Sam Gorin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Good evening. Just for the record, our governor, as of late Friday evening or late afternoon into Friday evening, adopted Executive Order 21-45, which extends 20-52. 20-52 is that particular executive order that we rely upon to continue the hybrid meeting concept that we have, which extends the declaration statewide emergency for another 60 days. It expressly provides for 60 days and expressly modifies 20-52. The best is left unsaid, but at the end of the day, the governor did extend that order, although it does not specifically embrace virtual meetings or virtual quorums. It is in fact a premise on which we in this organization believe is a premise for hybrid meetings. And either way, we have a physical quorum in the room this evening with the membership in the auditorium. Just a quick side note, and not to get into great detail about the amended and restated interlocal agreement, but we also thank, as your lawyers, we also thank Brianne for her time and attention with professional staff in the city. The document which you have been reviewing and which I believe is a red line version, I think reflects a good deal of the things, the items and matters that we've been discussing now for the past number of months. It is a document that is legally acceptable. And it's a document we need to talk about a little bit further at the next regular meeting of the board, but it certainly has come a long distance from some of the earlier discussions, and we commend her for her efforts, for her non-lawyer efforts, because they actually proved to be very successful, and we appreciate that. And we were not directly involved with staff. She was, and that may matter more. And from the standpoint of our review, I think that we're in a better place legally. Someone mentioned, I heard a saying recently that we don't want perfect to get in the way of good, and I think that this is a good document, as you have all commented. It's certainly not perfect, but it's a far cry from prior drafts that were somewhat less honorable. So that being said, we thank you. I have nothing further to report this evening, and to the extent I can answer any questions, I'm happy to try. But thank you for having us as your lawyers, and thank you for having me here this evening. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gorin. Let's start off on commissioner reports with Commissioner Ernst.
Madam Chair, just real briefly, I would say a couple things. One, I want to touch base on some of the other, maybe I should have included the Ocean Breeze comments, but I think that, Ocean Breeze, I heard all the comments, a desire from the residents to have golf. It is one possible component. But I think if we give everyone enough time on this whole thing, we will shape and form and get a good idea. And the goals have always been the same: green space, preserving green space, a priority to recreation, and in my opinion, it should be a priority to something that's financially sustainable. And I think all those things can be accomplished, but it's going to take some effort, and it will be easier with others than doing it alone. So we will get there in due course. So that's my comments on Ocean Breeze, but that's what I want to add that. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you to the staff. And I think Raul gives too much credit to me. It was really to the staff and to everyone else who's the interest in pickleball is just it was a no-brainer to do a lighted courts, and it was easy for everyone to make it happen. And Melissa made it happen. Thank you for everyone making it happen. We should just, continue to foster the volunteers in the community where they see the money should be spent, where things should be going. That's really the true pleasure and joy of doing this job, is that we can help our community get what they want and they can run it. So thank you.
Commissioner Engel.
Believe it or not, I'm speechless. I have nothing to add.
Write that down.
Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, so I have been going to the city council workshops. It's been really good to hear everything coming from all the different city council members and from the city manager and all that stuff. I am going to continue to go, and Brianne's going to continue to go. I do hope, it was mentioned at one point that hopefully we would be on the agenda once a month, so that, because the issue with when Brianne speaks is that she can't have a back and forth with the council members when she brings up a topic. And I know a lot of times some of them do have questions for her, and I think that would be a good thing. So I'm going to continue to try to push getting us on the agenda once a month. Not every time, but once a month. And then so I'll be on Monday. Brianne, be on Monday. And I think it's a good time. Again, we skipped this last one because they had a doozy of a meeting last time. So, so this Monday would be a good time to kind of update them on the ILA, and just update them on kind of where we are with the Ocean Breeze RFP, and that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to go and stay updated on the things that they say and things like that. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Rollins?
Well, I was thinking about the two projects that we have going. The one project that we undertook on our own by Patch Reef pickleball courts, and the other where we're partnering or involved with someone else, and which one gets done quicker. I was interviewed, and I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Craig. I wish you had been there instead of me. I just happened to show up because I wanted to see the courts, and next thing you know, I got a mic in my face. But the one question that she did ask, she said, "How did you get this done so quickly?" And I said, "Because we have our facilities manager is a pickleball player." But in seriousness, I said, because we do everything with diligence and we do it right, and we want to make sure that it's done to our specifications. And Melissa did a very nice job, and I was impressed. I'll still be a tennis player, because those guys at the net, it's a volley game, and I'm talking about volley. It's like an overhead serve every time it comes across that net. And Raul is an incredible pickleball player, as were his opponents. So I was impressed. But if you haven't seen the facility, it was really amazing. And Craig, I'll certainly give you credit for pushing that idea. And I'm so glad that we supported that, because it does a marvelous project. Someone asked me just recently how long I've been on the commission, and I said, quite a number of years. And she said, "What is your most favorite project? What is your thing you're most proud of?" And I said, "The thing I'm most proud of are the people I serve with and the recreation that they bring to the community for all members of our community." And I really mean that, because we have so much that we make available to our community through our ad valorem revenue. And I just want to pat each one of you on the back, because I think we do a great job with the funds, and we're very fiscally responsible.
Thank you. Brianne wants to say one more thing before I weigh in.
Sorry, I first thank you guys all for your comments tonight. I also wanted to thank the city staff at Patch Reef, because they worked really hard to incorporate pickleball into their fee schedule and into their RevTrack software, and everybody was very excited and very supportive of this project too. So thank you to the staff out there at the tennis facility, and to Michael for being involved in there as well.
Thank you. I want to thank our staff, absolutely, for job well done all the way around. And I'm looking forward to the joint meeting when we can sit down with the city and find out where they're going to go with their new facility and what they're going to put there, so that we can better understand how we can respond to the public with our RFI, and see what we can do as far as the needs assessment. Apparently, walking trails are very important. So I'm looking forward to working with the city on that. And we have our future agenda items all lined up for our next meeting. So I think it's time for Mr. Engel, who is here in person, and we welcome him back.
Thank you. Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Take care and stay real safe because we want you all back here in person someday.
Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Good night.
Night.